Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it. We'll talk about it inside.
Hey scrappers, Tom here. Today is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. And first and foremost, I'd love to wish my sister Virginia a happy birthday. I hope it's a very happy day. She does a lot of the things on the back end of the iScrap app. So, if you're on here and you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure you comment below. Send her a happy birthday message. So, what's been going on with the markets? Let's start with some news that came out yesterday, right? Yesterday was Tuesday the 7th. Federal Reserve Chair Powell came out and he was in front of a congressional hearing. And before I bore you with these things, right, I promise there's always a reason why we talk about this stuff, right? So he came out and said, the U.S. economy is still moving strong. There still is positive job numbers. Then he said a bunch of other things ahead of the Federal Reserve meeting that's happening in a week or two. What he also said was it looks like we're going to have to continue to increase the interest rates. What does that mean for scrap? That means that it's going to generally weaken the US dollar. Commodities have gotten weak, it's going to strengthen the US dollar by taking more dollars out of the system through interest, which means that things like commodities are going to be weaker. So, pretty much within 10 to 15 minutes of those comments coming out, we saw copper prices trading from like 407, 408 and shot down to $3.97. Now, fast forward 24 hours to today, we've now seen the prices jump up like 6 or 7 cents. And that tends to happen when there's quick market reactions. Plus, Federal Reserve Chairman Powell is talking more, so he might be saying a few things that calm people down. But what do I think about this? It is what it is, right? The markets are here, and a lot of people that we talk to through YouTube, whether you're leaving comments, coming to the yard in person in New Jersey, or anything else, everyone is looking to learn about the markets, learn about what I think about the markets. And what I think is just a part of the equation, right? I have a different perspective than a lot of scrappers. I own a scrapyard. I'm moving, tens of thousands of pounds a week. So I'm more of a turn and burn guy. A lot of you ask for my predictions on where the markets are going to go. Well, how do I get to these predictions? I watch guys like, Jerome Powell. I listen to what they say. If interest rates are going up, what does that mean for scrap? That means that it's going to be more expensive to borrow money. That means that it's going to be more expensive to develop land because now the money that's being borrowed is going to cost more to pay back because the interest rates are higher. I mean, just think about basic mortgage rates. 2 years ago, we had rates 2.5%, 3%. Today, we have rates 6.5%, 7%. So if you borrow $100,000, if you were paying, $2,000 to $3,000 in interest a few years ago, now you're paying $6,000 or $7,000. That's a big difference, and that affects commodities because the cheaper money was to borrow, the easier it was to be able to build new projects. And as interest rates push themselves up, I don't know what's going to happen with the scrap. Even with all the infrastructure and electric vehicles and all these different pushes, these are still things that we look at that we try to figure out. And then from there, it's going to affect everything: oil, gas, copper, steel, gold, platinum, palladium, all these different things. So those are more things that we look at to really kind of figure out. So when people ask me where I get my information, I get it from all over the place, right? I get it from other scrapyard owners. I get it from brokers. I get it from news articles. I get it from you responding to me on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can always click below, read our full post for our week-to-week reports. And I read all the comments. So I'm responding to them. I'm learning more about what you're thinking, what your questions are. And that's how a lot of this kind of comes to be. So, a lot of people say, well, why should we trust you? I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm just telling you what I see from my perspective, where the markets are, and then talking to some of my customers what they're doing. Because I know that a lot of people are just turning, burning scrap. They're getting it in their trucks, their vans, their cars, and they're getting out to make a quick buck, right? So that's one method. And then there's the hold and save method. So it's all about what type of a scrapper you are. And if you check out some of the other videos that we have on YouTube, whether they're the members only videos that you have to subscribe to or some of our general videos, you can check those out and learn about what it takes to be a full-time scrapper, learn about what it takes to really get into the scrap industry and become more educated in it. I'm doing this 16 years full time now, and I probably know 5 to 10% of the market. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but and even if I'm undercutting myself and it's 25% of the market, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of dominoes that really they hit different ways and things I wouldn't even think about. I mean, a year ago we were talking about that Evergrande collapse over in China, where that big company was going bankrupt for all these real estate ownings. I didn't know about that before it happened. I read about things as you do, but then I dive deeper into them to figure out how it's going to relate to scrap. So anyway, let's hope that those interest rates don't go too super high, but commodities still tend to be strong, and that's what we've seen right now. So um, let's talk about catalytic converters, right? So here's a market that I had one of my guys look up some numbers for a 12-month lookup, right? So rrcats.com, buying scrap cats, you guys know that. We buy them 10-day price lock guarantee, free shipping on OEM cats. That's all well and good. You can always click the link below. But let's talk about how the catalytic converter prices have dropped and really why they've dropped. And here's a couple of illustrations. We talked about this last week. 1 year ago today, platinum was $1,131 an ounce. Today, $938. That's a 17% drop. Okay, Tom, well, what about the other metals? Palladium a year ago, $3,045. Today, $1,387. That's a 54% drop. Rhodium prices a year ago, $21,100. Today, $9,500. Again, a 55% drop. So here we are, platinum down 17% in the 12-month period, palladium and rhodium down essentially 55% each. And that's why you have such a drop in the cat prices. You went from averages of $200 a cat to $120 a cat. And I've continued to have the same outlook. You can see it below. Sell your catalytic converters, right? This isn't something that you should just be holding on to and saving, hoping that a rainy day is going to bring the highest prices ever, like we saw in 2020, 2021. That's just not happening. What I've seen happening is a lot of auto manufacturers that make these catalytic converters, as they are working on their new gas vehicles and putting more precious metals into these cats, they're using more platinum because it's cheaper. So the palladium prices have skyrocketed downwards. Also, a year ago is the beginning of that Russian conflict. That elevated prices. And then as things have kind of tapered themselves off, we've continued to see prices decreasing. And I see that happening moving forward. I don't see the prices staying or going back to some of the levels that we saw even 2 months ago. 2 months ago, rhodium was 15,000 an ounce, palladium was 2,000 an ounce, platinum was 1,000. I don't see those big increases happening. Especially as we move towards the electric vehicle industry. Sure, they're going to need more commodities, but what commodities are they going to need? Copper, aluminum, steel, lithium, cobalt. None of those go into catalytic converters, right? So that's something that you really need to think about when you're going to sell your catalytic converters. rrcats.com, free shipping on all OEM catalytic converters today. So check that out. And we have a couple promotions going on. If it's your first time trying us, you'll be eligible for a couple of promotions. So check that out. What else is going on with the market? Steel. When that horrible tragedy happened in Turkey, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, and over 50,000 people passed away during the earthquakes, everyone was so worried about the steel market, and they were worried that the prices were going to go down because all of a sudden Turkey might be out of the market. Turkey is one of the biggest steel recyclers and buyers in the world. All of the barges on the East Coast, a lot of them are going over to Turkey just because of the shipping routes. So what we saw happen was the opposite of what I thought. prices went up in March. We saw prices jump 30, 40, $50 a ton. And now we've seen those prices go up faster in the South. I was talking to a friend of mine that does a lot of scrap steel in the South, and he was saying that generally prices are stronger in that area because they can run year round, where some of the Northeast, colder areas, Pittsburgh, for instance, might have some problem with weather or getting things there. So even though it's been a mild winter in many parts of the country, the South hasn't, gotten bombarded with snow, maybe some rain. So their prices have been strong. We saw the prices catch up in the Northeast, and now we start to see a little bit of a pullback. So just interesting to see where we saw about a $40 or $50 increase on steel, and now we saw about a $10 to $20 pullback, all within a period of 7 days, just to show you how volatile these markets are. And when you check out the weekly report that we have linked below, you'll be able to see my recommendations on what you should hold or what you should sell. And generally, all heavy grades of steel and light grades of steel are on the sell recommendation right now. So especially with prices where they are still, in a very strong position. Steel markets, super, super interesting. These steel markets, we're watching them. Oil prices have now dropped below $80 per barrel on oil. So we have started to see some of the gas prices go down. But watching this electric vehicle push is going to really predicate a lot of what happens with the commodity markets over the next 6 to 12 months. I talked about this last week. Price changes of 20 cents week to week, that's just going to happen, right? That's the markets. I, as a scrapyard owner, protect my yard off of, things like that. Other scrapyard owners do the same. That's why we have, buffers inside of our different margins that we're looking to make. So if you have a lot of scrap, that's when you should definitely check out some of our articles, check out some of our videos on how to negotiate your scrap prices with the scrap yards. If you're holding 500, 1,000, 2,000 pounds of copper, why should you not call up and ask for more money? The worst thing they say is no. We have customers at Rockaway Recycling that come from all over the area, and they call up, and if they have large weights, we'll work with you, especially if I know that I can sell it quickly. So knowing what you're going to be able to sell and knowing where you're going is going to help you in a very big way when it comes to the scrap prices. Now, a little special news alert, if you will, that I wanted to mention was some of the things happening to the shred market. Out in California, a new environmental law was passed. I believe it was in 2021 and then started in 2022. And it said that all of the steel prices for shred were going to have a $7 to $12 deduction for environmental reasons. What does that mean? When steel goes into a shredder, they're saying that pollutants could come out of it. So they're now taking money off to help with cleanup. What does that mean? A lot of the large shredders, both in California and the country, are owned by a few companies, right? I know one company owns 45 facilities and has over a dozen shredders. So once one company starts doing, these deductions like they're doing in California, we've now seen that spread all the way to the East Coast. So while that law, that regulation in New Jersey, in New York is not in effect, a lot of these large shredders are still just pushing it all over the place. And if you don't like it, they don't care. So that's going to change some of the prices going into the future. We've seen some people mentioning these deductions through comments online. So let us know if you've seen deductions happening on shred. It's on shred specifically. It's not on heavy cut grades of steel. So it is just on that shred or that light iron market. So you can check that out and learn about those markets as well. But overall, scrappers, aluminum has been strong. Brass prices, yellow brass, $1.90 to $2.10. You got good prices, So anyone that's going to sit here and complain about this video and put some comments underneath, oh, I'm waiting for the price to go up. If we all hold together, the markets will go up. No, it won't. If everyone holds together, the markets are not going to go up. Supply and demand on the big worldwide scale are going to be the thing that drives markets going up or down. Worldwide interest rates, worldwide inflation, worldwide need for oil, electrification. Those are the major talking points that will affect the scrap market. So, again, check out our weekly report below. You can click the link below, comment below if there's other things that you want us to talk about let us know and we'll put that onto the docket. We have a whole list of videos, both on how to use different tools for scrapping and what's going on with the markets coming out in the coming weeks. So please check those out. Happy birthday to my sister Virginia. Until next week, scrappers, I'll scrap you later.
Thanks for checking out this scrap video. For more exclusive scrap video content, please become a YouTube member of our channel today. Thank you, and I'll scrap you later.